And we're live. Thank you as always, Janine. That was fast today. Welcome everybody to the Tummy Whisperer podcast. I am your tummy whispering host, Renee Barish. We are on episode number 22 today. And I'm so excited to bring you guys something that I've always talked about. And we always talk about, Janine, like, how do you feed yourself? How do you eat healthy? How do you figure out what's going to work for you? How can you streamline it? How can you get it in your kitchen, whether you're doing it yourself or having somebody help you like I have? And today's show is all about being able to empower yourself to have the good stuff, the nourishing stuff, the healthy stuff. So today I have a little echo in there. Maybe it's me? Let me see. Not me. Because I don't have Facebook on.
Let me see. Is
that better?
Now?
Yeah.
I think that's better.
Okay. Maybe it was me. Probably. So today, well, actually, before I introduce her, my whole, as my business of helping people feel better and be healthy, part of my job is figuring out how to get themselves fed. How do you feed yourself in a way that feels good, that you are excited about eating, that you open up your refrigerator and go, oh, wow, look at all this great stuff I have here. And it's all healthy for my body. That is a huge problem for a lot of people, myself included, because I don't cook. I mean, I can scramble an egg and boil some gluten-free pasta, but that's not cooking. That's just, filling up your stomach for that meal. So how do we figure out how to do this in a way to really, get yourself to a place where you feel like you're totally covered? So in my quest for figuring out how to get stuff in my home, for me and my husband, and for my clients, I have a wonderful local source in Libertyville, Illinois. For those of you that are local and are listening, I have Chef Karis Lara on, the owner of Victus Foods in Libertyville. And she's going to talk a little bit about her story and about not only how she, why she does what she does, but her story and what brought her today to doing what she does so beautifully. So before I let her dive in, I'm just going to say there's a way. Part of the show today is going to be, again, how do you empower yourself to get the good stuff if you don't have time to cook? You're up early, you're not home till 7. Who wants to start cutting up raw chicken at 7 o'clock or start trying to make anything but a wrap that, you want something good and nourishing, and you want to be able to have it simple, and that it's fresh and prepared with love. I mean, I'm so lucky. I've got the best food in my refrigerator, thanks to Karis and her husband. So Karis, why don't you just take it away, start however you want to start with your story and talk about what you do. And then we'll figure out how to help more people get your food and food everywhere else, because we're live everywhere. We are nationwide. We are everywhere. So
fantastic. Well,
so
thank you so much for having me on, Renee. It truly has been an incredible opportunity to be able to talk with you and to be able to work with you and feed you and keep your fridge full of healthy, delicious meals. That is what my current business does. We do healthy meals. Everything is gluten-free, dairy-free for the customers. But before I get too deep into that, I would like to be able to talk a little bit about what has brought me to this place of being able to own what I call a holistic kitchen, and my story behind that. So it began, to keep a long story short, senior year in high school, and I was diagnosed after a long time of being uncomfortable and in pain and having a lot of digestion issues. Finally found the diagnosis of having an autoimmune disease. I was diagnosed with Crohn's. By the time I was diagnosed, it was 2 months before my 19th birthday. And it was pretty, world rocking at that point. Sure. Whenever you receive a diagnosis where you are kind of given the label that you will be on either a medication or a special diet for the rest of your life. This isn't something that will just go away. It can be really defeating, and it made me feel and question if the rest of my life I would be labeled as a sick person. And if that's how I would be able to go through life, was being limited and only being able to do a limited amount of things because my body was so sick and so weak because of this disease that had been left unchecked for a while. But through trial and error of finding the foods that my body loves and that nourish to help strengthen and heal my body, I found that my diagnosis did not have to limit me. In fact, my diagnosis has opened doors and pointed me in directions to lead to a beautiful life.
It powered you.
It did. What once felt like something that was disempowering has led me to a place of power and a place to be able to bless others. And that is where Victus comes in. Along my health journey, I started cooking a lot for myself, as one does when you have to suddenly cut out gluten and dairy and a lot of grains and complex carbohydrates and refined cooking oils or seed oils. The list goes on and on of things that could hurt my body.
Right.
And so I did a lot of home cooking. And at that young age, I was able to still rely on my parents, being able to live at home. And so I had time. But even then, that doesn't mean I wanted to spend all of my time having to cook my meals separate from everyone else.
Especially at that young age, right? When you're young like that, we want to be a 19-year-old, right?
So what I decided to do was to go to culinary school. I wanted to learn not just how to cook for myself, but how to cook delicious food for other people, because there is this wide market of people who need a specialized healthy diet, but don't want to have to cook 100% of their meals or be stuck going out and just eating a salad. We all get tired of salads.
Yeah. How much salad can you actually eat and feel full on? That's the thing. Even if you put a piece of fish or chicken on there, you're good for an hour, but then you're kind of hunting around for something more to eat. It's hard to get full on salad alone. Definitely.
So went to culinary school and, went through a couple different careers after that weren't directly linked to being in a kitchen until I found, through some delicious granola at a local coffee shop, a brand, a kitchen in Libertyville. And at that time it was called Real Clean Paleo. And my diet has remained paleo about 80%, 20%, just leisure over the years. And so this really struck me. I'm like, a paleo kitchen. I'm like, wow, I want to keep an eye on that. So I followed them on social media and didn't think too much of it. Further down the road, that led to a part-time job there, helping in the kitchen. And, over the last 4 years, the world has changed. And I decided I wanted to go full-time in this holistic kitchen, in this paleo kitchen.
And I'm so glad that you did.
Yes. And the opportunity just came up. We just passed our 1-year anniversary for me to take ownership. So I no longer would just be working in the kitchen, but it would be my own.
Yes.
And the rest has kind of been history over the last year. And let's see, March, April, May, year and 4 months. So 16 months total. And
congratulations. That's awesome. A great milestone.
Thank you. It has been a lot of work, but it's truly a blessing. And I truly am happy with my life having pointed me in this direction. And now being in a place where, because of what I have learned and what I went through, I can share delicious meals with other people who need it. Because I know what that, coming from that place of feeling overwhelmed by having a special diet. And so I love being able to step in and help people feel less overwhelmed That's what my
Exactly.
job is.
That's exactly what you've done for me. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been beyond a blessing. You know, I feel it in my own body, and I know what it's like to feel good. And I also know what it's like to feel poorly. And
Yeah.
doing all the heavy lifting that you and your staff and your hubby do to have these beautiful creations of entrees and sides and sweets that are not so sweet. She uses maple syrup instead of sugar, or sometimes a little coconut sugar. Like, nothing's too sweet, nothing's too overpowering. Everything is such a beautiful blend that just, it's like an everlasting gobstopper. You get this flavor, you get that flavor. It's subtle, it's like powerful, it's perfect. Like, she just knows what she's doing. I mean, you know, you
What
have to
are
go to
some of
school for that.
Thank you.
Chef, what are some of the best things on your menu?
Everything.
Oh,
Sorry.
fantastic.
Or your
I
favorite
can-
things on your menu, maybe.
All right. Our number one seller since day one has been our harvest salad.
One of my favorites.
Yes. So it's grilled Amish chicken, apple, bacon. We use a bacon that's sugar-free and uncured. And homemade dressings. It has some delicious honey spiced pecans there with the natural sugar. So that would be our number one seller. Our number two seller would have to be our grass-fed steak with our organic sweet potato gnocchi.
Ooh,
I could just leave it at that. It's a grass-fed steak with organic
that
sweet
sounds
potato gnocchi.
delicious.
So good. So
Yeah,
good.
those are two of the meals.
They make their own sweet potato fries. And the other day, Chef Karis made me yucca fries, right? The cassava root fries with a garlic aioli. And I opened up the package, and my husband was like, he loves garlic anything, and his eyes got real big, and we're eating it like two crackheads. It's so good. Delicious. Avocado oil mayonnaise. So the clean oil for me. I've been the princess in the pea, and she's been the most kind, patient, generous, emotionally generous, thoughtful person for me to help me roll this out. And she just always takes my lead and says, whatever you need, we'll figure it out. You know, she made cupcakes for me with avocado oil, and she's like, these are delicious. And they were so good because I can't have butter and I can't have coconut oil right now. So she's like, let me knock it out of the park. And sure enough, she did. So she knows what to do. And it's amazing. Whatever dietary thing you need, she can work around it. Her and her staff and her husband can. So one of the things I wanted to punctuate, obviously for the local people, everybody knows where Libertyville is. I have a client who I just introduced to Chef Kara this morning, who's going to drive in probably twice a month to get some frozen meals. I'm kind of pushing her a little bit to start making some to-go stuff frozen, maybe that people could have and go, wow, look at this frozen stuff here. And then they're set. Because driving from the city, it'd be about an hour and 15. My client doesn't mind. She's like, to get good food, I'm ready to do it. So maybe that's a way to expand a little bit, where she pre-makes all the stuff and then she needs 9 days in the week to do it. But and she has some frozen stuff that people would just pick up on their way home, be like, look, I got meals for 5 days here now. So, there's a lot of options out there, a lot of opportunity. And so, like, if you want to, part of this podcast today was to help people understand that you can start asking, where would people start to ask for help, like how you give? Janine has a source in Florida. Tell me the name of it again, where you get your meals.
It's like Fit Foods.
Fit Foods. It's like a
Fit
chain.
Foods.
And they
have
and
then Fresh Kitchen. Fresh Kitchen's the best.
So it's like you get a salmon and a rice and a asparagus, or these different entrees like you do.
Right.
There's these chains, but give us a little backstory about how people could maybe get something local near them. How could they start to elicit this?
Where would they look?
Where would they look? Exactly. How would they do this?
I am a big supporter of using modern technology. And so a great place to start is through Facebook. There are lots of groups in your area. And being able to search, healthy eating group in, your area, or to be able to look, and you can usually find people in the area who have similar dietary needs to you. And usually then they'll also be, great recommendations within that group. There are a few that I'm a part of that not only are in the area, but are also international, where we talk all about, have you seen this ingredient or, this product from the store? Have you tried it? How did your body respond? It's always
Oh,
a
I
great
love that.
resource, is going to the Facebook and looking in the groups.
Are there certain names people could search, like like you said, like healthy eating in my area, look gluten-free in my area or something like that, or
Exactly.
or low
Depending on the
histamine
dietary
or
needs, you definitely could
okay.
pop in, gluten-free or dairy-free or allergen friendly. That's a
Yeah,
really big one that kind of just overarching.
yes, yeah, because it covers gluten and histamines and all that stuff. So that
Correct. If
that's
someone were to just look up, like a histamine group on Facebook, you could probably find one.
oh, they're
Um,
there.
but
They're
it
there.
might not be area specific. So if
Right.
you
Well,
are looking for your specific area, another option then would be to go to Google and to look for local meal delivery services
yes. Yes.
and to
Talk a
start
little bit
there.
about that. Local meal.
Mhm.
I know there's the big ones, and I have used them in the
Mhm.
past. And
Mhm.
because they're so big, they're coming in the vacuum sealed
Mhm.
plastic, and
Yeah.
just not loving that. It's one of the I forget one of the Modify Health was one of the meal services I used. It was okay. It got us
Mhm.
through, but it just the packaging and the vacuum
Mhm.
sealing and all the
Right.
plastic, and then
Correct.
and flash frozen and then defrosted and then heated, and just so many different temperatures. I know that
Mhm.
food can take the hit with that. You don't want to go from frozen to cooked to cooled. Reheated is okay, but frozen again, you're okay there, but you don't want to do that
Right.
multiple times. It's kind of
Yeah.
hard on the food. So
It can compromise the quality as well as the nutrition.
exactly,
Yeah.
definitely. So I think like what you're saying too is a great idea, just to kind of start that little tiptoe through the tulips and just seeing where people can get something, searching those meal services, but not the big ones. There might be like local meal services that are owned by a person and not by a company. I mean, you know what I'm
Correct.
saying?
Yes.
Like a big
Yeah.
conglomerate company that's like, yeah, that charges an arm and a leg for shipping because they got to ship
Mhm.
it to on dry
Mhm.
ice and all that stuff. It can get real expensive.
Yeah.
My Rook's dog food gets shipped on dry ice. It's sometimes
Mhm.
$70 for shipping for the 2 months for him, but
Yeah.
you guys know me, anything for my pooch.
Yes.
My guy.
Mhm.
But
Local farmers markets are another one to look
yes,
into.
yes.
There might be less options of like pre-made meals there, but you never know. It's always
Hmm.
worth a look.
Well, and the other thing is too, you don't have to do like a full meal. If you got like a pre-made sauce, you can stir fry yourself up a little anything, right? Put the
Yeah.
sauce on there and bake a potato or something, and you've got something to fill your body, nourish your body, something that's healthy. You can get
Correct.
creative. Like I would say I'm creative in what I like to eat. So when I do make little
Mhm.
things for Mark and I before I actually met Karis and her husband, I would kind of be like, that goes with that and that goes with that. And most of the time it was okay. And food is easy to get creative with because you know what you like. And then you've
Mhm.
got mostly what you like in your cabinets anyway.
Right.
So you can kind of mix and match. And if you
Mhm.
have the base for certain things, I
Oh
think that's a
yeah.
big thing. So one of the things that Chef Karis and her hubby make for me are a gluten-free flatbread, Ginny, and you got to hear this. It is amazing. It's like ginormous. She makes a chicken pesto with mushrooms and onions, gluten-free
Mhm.
flatbread. Mark and I each get 2 servings out of it, two big, huge
Yeah.
pieces. She made a like a what's that one called with the one you made for Nina, the tomato basil,
Margarita
the
one
margarita
with the
one
fresh
for Nina.
mozzarella, the basil.
So delicious. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so filling too. You just need like a little piece.
Mhm.
It's so delicious. So there's things that you can make that can freeze, things that you can make that are filling enough that you don't have to kind of spin the wheels and go like, what am I going to have with this? So sometimes we'll have that with like a little side salad and we're totally full. so it's definitely a blessing. So how else besides this, people can start Googling and kind of looking for local and trying to step into this? Tell your story too. You said, I think you told me that you started like making stuff for yourself, and then people were like, they tried it, and you're like, oh, okay, like making something bigger for them to try, and then it turned into like 2 people, into 4 people, into like 8 people. Is that kind of like part of it there?
That is the origin story of how the business began. So I'm the second owner. As I said, I came in working for the original owner.
Right.
And how she got started, as she's married to the owner of a CrossFit gym. And she and her husband are very health conscious and take really good care of their bodies. And word got around the CrossFit gym about Kirsten's cooking and about some of her recipes. And so word would get around that, oh, she's making a big batch of chili. And people would say, can you make some extra for me? And that's how it all started. And so she went from making a small batch to a bigger batch to suddenly now feeding 50 people off of that batch of chili. And she was like, wow, there's a lot of interest in the clients of the CrossFit gym in being able to eat healthy and wanting to be able to have someone else handle the cooking because of the amount of time it takes.
The cooking, the shopping,
and the
washing,
know-how,
the cutting, the prepping, the driving. I mean, you guys got to factor that into the price. Like when I say that I get a meal for like, $14, you can't even get a Culver's burger, French fries, and a drink for under $14, which is Culver's. Right. You get organic, healthy, Amish, clean, it's beyond worth it. So I love it. So she was cooking for more and more, and then decided, hey,
she built a business out of it.
Yeah.
So she built a business creating, meals mainly for the gym members. And I've been able to definitely expand my customer basis beyond just the CrossFit gym. But we still definitely still are in partnership with them. We love being able to support them in their events, and it truly is beautiful to see how the business evolved from just one person in their kitchen being able to just make extra enough to share, to now being able to feed like an entire suburb. It's beautiful, in the surrounding areas.
And I have clients who do like to cook, and they'll tell me they're making I tell them like what, and I'm going to ask you your favorites about like gluten-free flours and things like that in a moment, but they can start making stuff and things like that. Maybe this is going to be inspirational for somebody who's like, I love to cook, I could do this, and maybe they can open up their own small little commercial kitchen and make some to-go baked goods. I mean, that's how some of those gluten-free bakeries started, like Rosie's in Evanston, and then there's the one in Crystal Lake now. It's Rosie's, I think. It's different, but there's a lot of them out there, and hopefully this is inspirational for some people who are like, I've been thinking about this, and maybe I'm going to move forward with this so I can help other people. So
there is a market for it.
There's market for it. And so speaking of gluten-free flour, I want to, maybe you can highlight some of your favorite brands for people who are like to bake for themselves. What do you like to use for your baking? I know you use a lot of almond flour.
Almond flour, and arrowroot, I believe, are two. If I were to recommend anyone who is stocking a gluten-free pantry, you're going to use a lot of almond flour, and arrowroot is really good as a thickener. And the blend of the two give a really delicious texture to baked goods without them being too crumbly.
Yeah, is arrowroot is it a vegetable? It's a root, obviously.
Well, it is a root, so it's like a tuber. It would be similar to cassava, which is yucca.
Right.
So,
Okay. And then
brand, and I'll just throw this out there quick. I have no affiliation. There's a brand that I love to use, and you can find it on Amazon Prime. So anyone, anywhere who gets shipped Amazon Prime, you can use the brand Anthony's Organics.
Oh, I love it.
And they come in these nice brown bags.
Yeah.
And those are fantastic way to stock your your pantry. They have a whole lineup of different flowers. A lot of them are all organic, very easy to find some nice quality baking that is accessible to anyone.
We
So,
use his unflavored pea protein for
yeah.
smoothies. You know,
Mhm.
I didn't realize that he made flowers and stuff. That's
Yeah.
great to know.
Mhm.
Thank you. See, I just
You're
learned something.
There are a lot of things where just ask, it
Yes,
never hurts to ask. You never know what you'll get out of it.
that's for sure the truth. Yeah, this is just so great because I feel like there's so much opportunity for people to be able to roll out. And of course, sitting in my chair doing what I do for a living, I certainly hear the stress from my clients. You know, how do I do this? Like, and at any age too, right? You know, like I have this restriction, I can, and that's the mindset of you can't. So my job is to help empower and say, of course you can, and here's how to do it. So we have the here's how to do it, and then people don't really have any more excuses, guys. It's too easy to eat, gluten free these days. It's just impossible not to do it. Every restaurant at least has some awareness. If they don't have a full gluten-free bun for your burger, they at least can give you a salad with a baked potato and a piece of fish or something that is gluten-free. Like you could do a gluten-free anywhere, maybe except a pizza place that maybe only offers pizza. But
even then, so many pizza places these days have a gluten-free crust option.
Which,
So
by the way,
many
your
of them do.
flatbread would be like a great pizza crust. Like I'm envisioning pizza crust for sale for you because some of them out there are just they're not so great. At least the frozen ones are just the ones you get at the store. They're crackery or they're just they're just I don't know. They're okay. They're a pass when you're starving because you're like, well, this is all I have to eat. But something that's good, like Tammy's and Fox Lake makes a really good one. There's this crispy and then a little doughy on the inside. Of course, being Italian, she'd be like an uber snob about a gluten-free pizza crust. Have you tried any of the frozen gluten-free pizzas, Janine, that you like that you can recommend? No,
I
right?
just like there's the main brand that we get in a lot of the grocery stores down here that's a cauliflower crust, but even if it's cauliflower, it still has chemicals in it. It's still not
right.
It's still like a lot of people, they don't realize that even if they're buying store-bought gluten-free, like dairy-free options, that if you look at the ingredients, they're awful for you. So it's super important to find a brand or maybe go to Whole Foods if you're looking for like a gluten-free, like I'm sure Whole Foods has an amazing selection of like gluten-free pizza crust.
They have some good ones. Yeah.
Yeah, because unless you're going to like a specific healthier store like that, in just like Target or a Publix we have here in South Florida, they're not going to really they'll give you the gluten-free, but it's definitely not, like I said,
it's got all the chemicals. Yeah, we have Woodman's here and they have a lot of the stuff that Whole Foods has, but something homemade, it could be certainly easy enough to do with the right flour. I'm certain you could probably use a little almond flour for a pizza crust. I don't know why you couldn't, but but yeah, all the chemicals and all the stabilizers they put in there and all the titanium dioxide, there's metals in your pizza crust. There's all kinds of crap. You really want to avoid that at all costs. Our bodies are overburdened as it is and overtaxed as it is, and we don't want to add more. We're trying to lift the toxic burden off of our bodies, out of our organs, out of our environment. And the first way to do that, the first line of defense, obviously, is what you're putting in your mouth. Can you put healthy, clean, good stuff in? And so again, I'm always going to encourage you guys to try to do the best you can with what you have, but move forward so that you can get what I have, which is homemade stuff in my refrigerator and freezer for the next week to two. I'm blessed, truly, and it is definitely out there. Janine, how you've got your carry out meals, like what? You guys do that 3 to 4 days a week, and then do you guys cook the other 2 to 3, something like that?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I like the convenience of not spending a fortune like when I'm at the studio, because sometimes I'm there for 8 or 9 hours and we don't have a stove. We have a toaster oven, but
Sure.
I'll bring my meal, I'll heat it up in the toaster oven and then I'll but for the most part, I have been, if I order any takeout, for example, it's got to be gluten-free, it's got to be from that fresh kitchen place or something that's healthy, because when I eat healthier, I just feel better. And food's supposed to make you feel good, right? It's not supposed to make
Right.
like when people leave a restaurant and they're like stuffed and they're like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. And it's like, well, you probably shouldn't have eaten the quantity of what you ate, right? Because it's probably not that great for you to begin with.
Right.
But
Right. And then you
know,
overate,
and then you
but
overate on top of it, right? So
right,
it's like,
right. But if you
you just
overeat
don't
like
know.
Victus stuff, boy, and I do, believe me. I'm like, I like text her, I'm like, hey, I'm out of this already. She's like, no problem, I'll just double it next week. Thank you.
Yum.
It's so easy to do and it's so
Mhm.
healthy, you're just like, just keep going. But yeah, so like you said, so you carry out probably 3 to 4 days a week, cook the other 2 to 3. So it's more cost effective for you in terms of how you're feeding yourself. So Janine is recently gluten-free for about the past maybe 6-ish months or so. And living the lifestyle, being gluten-free. She's loving it. Her body is so thankful that she is not eating that crap anymore. I know. She can't even talk. She's like, oh.
It makes such a difference in my digestive tract to
It
eat
does.
healthier. And I don't have an allergy to gluten. Like, I'm not celiac. So if I do end up eating something quick that does have it, I definitely notice the difference. But on a whole, I really try to not eat it at all.
And
Mhm.
people who are celiac, some are born that way, but some people grow into it, and they grow into it by eating the gluten. So continuing to eat it, there's always that chance that you could have the diagnosis. But the people that come across my desk are non-celiac gluten sensitive, with the array of issues that come along with non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So when you took gluten out, did you feel like, what did you feel like with your Crohn's? I mean, you were doubled over in pain. You were just horrible.
Oh my
Did you notice
goodness.
it? Did you notice it almost immediately, or how long did it take you?
I would say, and now I'm, trying to think back. It's been a couple years. And it, and my diet went through a few different evolutions, but cutting out dairy was actually the first one that even I did before gluten. I think by the time I had cut out gluten and started following, my initial protocol was the specific carbohydrate diet, the
Mm-hmm. SCD. Yep.
SCD, and it probably took, I would say I started noticing within the first week that I
Wow.
was in less pain.
That's something.
And then definitely then by going into the second week where I'm like, yeah, this is doing something and I'm gonna stick with this.
Yes, that's how it
Um,
worked for me too. I noticed it
yeah.
right away, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna be that like annoying gluten-free person now. Oh well.
It's
No,
a fear, but there's nothing to fear about it. There's so
nothing.
many people who, for different reasons, are choosing to eliminate different ingredients out of their life, whether it is
Right.
gluten or, seed oils or dairy. And it's nothing to feel judgment about anymore. There's so many of us. Join
Yeah.
the group.
Join the group. And I
Join
do
the
want to
crew.
punctuate seed oils for just a quick moment, because you brought them up,
Yeah.
and I've been learning. I was the anti-seed oil person for years, because all of
Mhm.
the putrefied,
Right.
all the oils become putrefied. But there's been a lot of studies, and my own naturopath actually, she's very well read, and she says green light for some of the seed oils. They're not as bad as you think. So if you guys are shopping and you're like, well, this is gluten-free, but it's got sunflower seed oil, I'm going to put it back on the shelf. Don't worry. I actually
Yeah.
had a client say to me, I gave her a list of gluten-free things to get,
Mhm.
and she went to Whole Foods, and then she turned around and came back empty-handed. And she said, everything had a lot of carbohydrates in it. I said, don't worry about counting calories and carbs right now. Right now, we've got to lift off the gluten and lift off the
Yes.
inflammation. So I want people to hear that the seed oils, I don't think, and I trust my my naturopath for sure,
Yeah.
are as bad. And I want people to have a little more variety. You could choose not to cook with them and not to eat them. That's okay.
Right.
Avocado oil, there's
Mhm.
coconut oil, there's all kinds of oils that aren't seed oil. But if it's in something and you're really trying to look for this gluten-free, don't be afraid of a little chip or a cracker that has it in there for the time
Correct.
being. Think it's okay
Definitely.
to do, especially while you're working on
Mhm.
it, and use your
Right.
body as your barometer. We all have, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what their weakness is with their symptoms. And when you eat something, it's like, that maybe, we all tested too. Maybe I shouldn't have eaten that. Maybe it was okay. I don't know. What's your threshold? Can you have a little bit of wiggle room here? Do you have to be militant for, how many days in a row? It depends. And for me, there's so many variables. If it's springtime, I have to be very militant on my histamines. If it's the wintertime, I mean, I can throw caution to the wind and have a little balsamic on my salad with some peppers, and not every day, but I won't feel it. So again, working with your threshold, working with understanding there's a lot of option out there, and not being so stuck in this sort of black and white place of yes and no. You have
Mhm.
to be open to just trying and open your energy field to know that there's help out there. There's people that want to help. This is the exact reason that I have Chef Karis on today, so
Yeah.
she can get her voice out there and help more people. So for the local people in Illinois and within a 25 to 5,000 mile radius of Libertyville, come to Victus. Overseas, come to Victus. She is going to actually work on, like I said, freezing some stuff and shipping. That'll be like her next thing to do.
Reach
Figuring
out to
out
us on Instagram.
Instagram.
We're a small business, so if you slide in the DM, you're talking to me directly. You'll get
Yes.
my response, and I'll
Yes.
be able to help get you some delicious meals. Fill your fridge.
Yeah, ask, and they're wonderful to work
And
with. I cannot say
yeah.
enough good things about them. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, for anyone who's not in the Illinois area, I would just have to shout out to all of the personal chefs out there. For those who have the budget for it, beyond just Googling local meal delivery services or looking at your Facebook groups, look into a private chef. And they're out there for the people whose time and whose budget can afford that, and they can be really helpful and really alleviate a lot of your time to be able to spend enjoying your life. And they'll take care of the food.
And I said this before too early in the podcast, but for those of you who are jumped in a little bit later, don't look at the prices like, oh, this is expensive. You have to understand they're shopping, preparing, cutting, washing, baking, packaging. That's the time that none of us have to do, and they're doing all the heavy lifting for us.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, for what the reward that I get of how I feel and how my family feels, there's no price tag for me. Of course, I'm always going to spend my money on my health. That's just what I do. So yeah. So again, guys, really, it is important to take care of yourself. You get one try at this life. I think, I don't know. We may be coming back. I don't know. I haven't gone back yet, although I feel like I've been here before. So maybe not, but do the best you can.
You get one body this time.
You get one body this time. Exactly. Do the best you can. Start using your voice, start using your fingertips, start asking questions. And of course, Chef Karis can point you in the direction if you have any questions, even if you're living out of state. She'd be happy to answer questions for you. She is lovely and she is kind, and I've been so blessed.
Some of our desserts we can ship, so
that's
another thing.
The brownies or the cookies?
Yeah, the brownies. I've shipped cookies to Colorado, and the cookies made the trip to Colorado. So granola has been shipped across state lines as well. So
what about the nut bark? Can the nut bark be shipped?
Oh, I'm sure it would. Yeah. As long as it doesn't require me to use any of that dry ice yet. As long as it's a shelf-stable product.
Oh my God.
I'm open to shipping it. So
if you guys love nut bark, you have not had nut bark until you've had Victus's nut bark. It is amazing. She sweetens it with maple syrup. There's just a little bit. There's tiny cacao nibs in there that are just, you can't even see them, but it gives you just a little hit of that chocolate if you can't do a lot like me. And then, all the nice nuts, and it's just so clean tasting that you can eat the whole package like we tend to do within 3 days. It's
I can make
embarrassing.
bigger packages.
You can. She does every week for me. Double the order. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on and making time for us. I hope that people listening are empowered and reach out for questions. Of course, if you have any questions about your digestion or your health, you guys know where to find me, tummywhisperer.com. For Victus people, Instagram, Facebook. You can
Yes.
find her. She's local.
We're online at victusfoods.com. There's a little chat
victusfoods.com.
box. You can talk to
Okay.
us in the chat box online as well. That also
Yes.
comes directly to me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And of course, thank you everybody for listening. And of course, download and share. If you listen on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen and download your podcast, I thank you for your time, everybody. And we will see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you again. Take
Thank
care, guys.
you.